All right. Week two. Welcome back. This is the YouTube office hours for my students, both online and in person here. Let me get the mic out of my face. For my students, both online and in person here, to review any questions that have surfaced during the week, go over some topics that might take a little bit more time to address, and really make sure ultimately that you guys are getting the best information, or that you guys are performing to the best of your ability here, right? Give you all the resources that are available here. But week two, as we enter in towards the chemical level of organization, and we're looking at lab number 6 now, where we're looking at the microscopy lab, kind of introducing microscopy, and next week, as we'll see, cellular biology. So these 2 weeks, this week and next week, are really going to be hopefully a review, right? A review of Chem 130, chemistry, and next week a review of cell biology, like Bio 181. So it's not, I don't anticipate going over 16 weeks of material, right? An entire semester of material, but we will hit the highlights, right? Right, we will hit the highlights, and ultimately relate it to the human body and human anatomy and physiology. Announcements wise, nothing big on the announcements. I'll keep you posted as we get. Stay tuned here. I'll start publishing some more publicity for our student hours as I get more comfortable with this forum as well. So we'll keep working on that. And I think in terms of, I didn't get too many questions, so maybe this might be a good opportunity for me to share a little bit as to what to anticipate over the next weeks to come. So, as I mentioned, this week we're going into the chemical level of organization, and next week will be the cellular level of organization, so kind of a review more of our Bio 181 course. If I hop on the syllabus, actually, let me give you the student view. This is how it would look like if you guys were hopping onto your Canvas here. Hop onto the syllabus here. Take a look at that lab lecture schedule here. And so chapter one, the biggest component here is going to be our textbook. Our textbook is going to kind of drive the course throughout the semester here. So chapter one was an introduction to the human body. This week, chemical level of organization. So now we're looking at, again, everything from, let's hop down into their chapter two here, everything from the atomic structure all the way up to these macromolecules, which is what the components of a cell, right? So carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and fats, which are the organic components, as well as inorganic components. Think of like water, salt, that make up the cell itself, right? These inert properties is where we're starting. So again, hop into chapter 2 here. We'll see that again, it's a dense chapter, the most common elements of life, right? So there are four elements that make up 95% of the body by mass. That's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus. So these three are the biggest components of that. And then the properties of water is also a big component of what we need to understand. Biomolecules, that's what I mean when I'm talking about organic molecules, biological molecules, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and then the last part of that is nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. Specifically, what is the difference between DNA and RNA, as well as what is the structure of proteins and how do they. The idea here is that proteins have a function that is uniquely tailored to their structure. And so there's 4 levels of structure in which proteins will go through, and we should be able to identify those, as well as identify the fact that these proteins, unique to their structure, have unique functions. And so one of the most common functional proteins is an enzyme, which catalyzes a reaction, right? It catalyzes a chemical reaction to occur. And so again, Enzymes are primarily proteins. But there's the chapter outline, the chapter text reading, and then your good old-fashioned lectures provided by me there. And so that's chapter 2. Once we get into chapter 3, we'll start to look at the cellular level of organization. Let me give you an idea here. Let's hop into the modules. Let's just take a look at the textbook as we have. So if we get into textbook, additional resources, hop in there and just take a look at the textbook. So view it online. We've gone through chapter 2, and chapter 2 is the chemical level of organization, right? We're looking at the elements and atoms, the building blocks of matter, all the way like the basics of atomic structure, chemical bonds, chemical reactions. So those chemical reactions occurring can either be catabolic or anabolic. So are they going to release energy when this occurs, or are they going to take up energy? Organic compounds, right? Organic compounds essential to human life, primarily water being a big one. There it is right there, water. As well as the properties of water, right? What are the properties of water? You can see them there. It's a lubricant and a cushion. It acts as a heat sink. It's a large component of liquid mixtures, right? And so the role of water in chemical reactions, that is a big component there. So the inorganic compounds and then organic compounds, right? So what are those 4 organic compounds? We'll take a look here. Carbohydrates, lipids, that's a lipid. Proteins. There's that structure that we talked about here, that primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures, the shape of proteins there. It's going to be important to review. Proteins functioning as enzymes. And then our nucleotides, RNA, DNA, as well. One I haven't mentioned here yet, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, what we know as the energy currency of the cell. So the way that energy is utilized in this cell, in these high energy bonds, this triphosphate energy bonds here, is what's contained in there. And that's what kind of wraps up the chemistry chapter. Now, cellular level of organization, we're going to look at the different components of a cell, right? Starting with the cell membrane, and understanding like that the cell membrane is a phospholipid membrane, so it's a lipid membrane. Even our nucleus has a phospholipid membrane, so it's similarly to the cell membrane. The nucleus has a membrane. The nucleus and RNA replication, so again, the differences between DNA and RNA will start to become important here. Zoom in, keep going in there for you. Protein synthesis, right? How are proteins coded? Proteins are going to be one of the biggest, again, organic components as it relates to the uniqueness of a cell. It's the proteins that allow this cell, right, the structure, and to have its special function. Muscle cells contract because of the proteins that are in them. Right? There's contractile proteins which slide across each other and allow a muscle contraction to occur. Cardiac muscle as well. The protein structure of collagen, right? Collagen is a protein structure as well, and that is what makes up our tendons and ligaments, right? So this protein that is built inside of the cell and sometimes contained inside of the cell or released outward can help to create the unique surroundings, whether it's creating a tendon, a ligament. There is some collagen in bones as well, right? So the bone cells actually produce collagen proteins and then secrete them into the bone tissue. Cell growth and division, right? Mitosis is going to be a big thing here. There are cells that are highly mitotic, right? My skin cells are highly mitotic, meaning that my skin cells will replicate. They'll uh, move up from the deeper levels of the integument and move up towards the surface of the skin. It takes about 2 weeks from the cells of the lowest level to move up towards the surface of the skin, and another 2 weeks on the surface, and before they slough off. Those are cells that are referred to as heavily mitotic, right? They go through a lot of cell activity as well and division. Cells that might not be as mitotic or might even be referred to as amitotic. Think about cells that are expected to last your lifetime. Nerve cells as the first thing I can think about here, right? So nerve cells are cells that are expected to last your lifetime. They don't divide. You don't get new nerve cells. You don't get a new sciatic nerve, and especially as we've learned with central nervous tissue injuries, right? Spinal cord and brain injuries. Once that structure has been damaged, it's hard for that to heal or rejuvenate. Regenerate may even be a term there, right? Sorry, I'm looking for my notes. There we go. And then chapter 4 is really going to where we get into like unique material here. So chapter 4, the tissue level of organization. This is where where I'll kind of end off in terms of like what to expect over the next couple of weeks here. But the tissue level of organization, there's 4 major types of cells in the body. So all the cells of the body can be classified into 4 major groups. Let me see if I can't find a nice picture here for us. There it is, right? So you can have nervous tissue, nerves, and that includes the brain, spinal cord, all of the peripheral nerves that go out to my arms and legs. You can have muscle tissue. So muscle tissue is unique in the fact that it contracts. So muscles in my arms and legs help me to move. Muscles of my heart pump blood throughout the cardiovascular system. And smooth muscle tissue is responsible for some of those involuntary motions. So think about the digestion of food, right? Peristalsis, the constriction and relaxation, the constriction and relaxation of the gastric muscles as it moves down. So smooth muscle tissue is seen in the lining of our arteries as well, right? The lining of our arteries, so that our arteries can dilate or vasodilate. Dilate, open, and constrict. Epithelial tissue is the type of cells that line the inside and outside of my body. Simply mentioned like that. So they line the surface of the outside, my skin. They also line the inside of my body, the mouth, the internal organs, all the way down towards my digestive tract. These cells are also lining the inside of my arteries and veins too, as we mentioned, as I mentioned previously with these muscle tissue. You'll see that these organs, right, like my heart, my stomach, they have a lot of different types of tissues. So a organ like your heart can contain cardiac muscle tissue. It can contain some adipose tissue. Obviously, it might contain some endothelial tissue that line the vessels as well. And then ultimately connective tissue, which is probably the vast group of cells or tissues within the body. We're thinking about everything from blood, right, very aqueous solutions, to bone, tendons, ligaments, all the things that kind of connect the body together. Adipose tissue, fat kind of falls in that category as well. And so let's take a look here. So what are we looking at? What does that mean, and how do we wrap this all together here? So today and over the next week here, we'll continue on this chemical level of organization. We have to have an understanding of the baseline fundamentals of chemistry, of cellular biology, before we can move on to how each of these cells can be unique, right? We have to look at a generic cell, identify all the components of a generic cell first before we can identify unique types of cells within the body. And that's where we get into the tissue level, specifically the different types of cells within the human body. I'd encourage you as well, when you start to look at the microscopy lab, you're going to be looking at tissue samples. So you want to try and identify at least don't even have to identify or just gain an appreciation for some of the things that you're observing underneath a microscope. So if I kind of jump into modules here, you'll see this one or two different ways. Excuse me. There's the histology guide. This is going to be something we can actually start to look at in the next week, into these weeks upcoming now. So we can start with let's start with digital histology, this VCU website here, because I appreciate that they have provided a kind of a slideshow approach to this one. So if we hop into the website, oh, it doesn't want to hop. Why doesn't it want to? It's okay. Here's what you'll do. I'll fix that link here right now. Digitalhistology.org is the website. So there it is, digitalhistology.org. I'll fix the link here shortly. Glad I see that it's not working. But here we are, right? We can take a look at the cells, right? Start with the basics. Polarity of a cell. Cell division, right? The stages of mitosis. This is actually I wonder if this is if I use these slides in my practical. Let's see if we, the identification of the different levels of the different cell cycle steps or the different stages of mitosis. I don't recall seeing these slides, but I do use a kind of the picture of the onion stalk with different levels of mitosis. So I encourage you to identify that, and we'll take a look at that. But taking a look at the different stages of mitosis. Oh, too much there. As well as the different structures of a cell, right? So could we identify the different things like endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparati, the secretory granules and vesicles, lysosomes, and mitochondria. Again, this is what relates to a specific or a very generic type of cell, right? Centrioles are a protein structure that gives structure to the cell. And so I encourage you to utilize this website here, Digital Histology. Let's make that link work right now for you. Take that, take that. Let's see. All right, let me do this real fast. Let me find a sticky note. Let's try this one. Nope. All right, let's do it this way then. Oh, the pleasure. This website. Let's name it this. Let's give the link here. Sure. All right, I fixed it. Here you go. So I encourage you, take a look at this digital histology website. Let's make sure it's working now. Put all the work into it. Here we go. Hop into the website. There's the website. Click on the link there. Pops it to you. New link there on the page. Takes you to digitalhistology.org. Basic cell division, cell histology. There you go. Additional resources. I think you can get even practice. Give yourself some practice quizzes. I don't know if you're ready for it, but let's see. You can hop into cells. Ooh, cells? Ooh, look at that. Describe the specific stage. Okay, yep. See how I referred to that? So, again, some of those levels of mitosis, right? Identifying the structures. So, again, now we're looking at these different structures related to these different specific types of cells, right? So, what we're looking at. Ooh, let's see. What are we looking at? I'm trying to think. They look like lysosomes. Secretory granules. Dang it. There you go. There you go. Oh, those are nuclei. Oh, the staining properties. Ooh, basophilic. But a good review here, kind of digital histology, kind of a nice review to allow you to kind of go through some questions here and review them as it relates to the different structures. This is actually a nerve. This is a nerve cell. This is a pretty cool one. What you're looking at is the nerve, and then you've got the outer layers of the what are they? What are the outside? Outer membranes here, and then so identify this indicated in the arrows. Oh, what that is actually a microtubule, right? So structures there. So okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here today. Continuing on here, week 2, you guys stay strong. I'm gonna continue here. Until then, I will talk to you soon. I'm gonna wrap this one up. Don't have too many intro questions popping up. Nobody's in my links here, so I'm gonna pop off. Everybody, I wish you the best, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.